Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up.
Don't you just love live TV, Larry Porch?
I love it, man. There's always something.
Well, first, we want to welcome everyone into chat. We're a little late coming on. We had some technical problems, and we're going to have to deal with them through the show. But thank you, everybody, for tuning into chat. And what the Hendersons are having problems when there's 3 feeds that are up. So me and Larry's going to have to take turns and with talking to the Hendersons. And so, but we'll make it through this. It's going to be a great show. We got some great stuff to share. And so, Larry, why don't you go ahead and introduce Johnny and Elijah?
All right. Well, tonight's guests are from Cryptid Studies Institute. They've got a number of pretty much documentaries on YouTube, anywhere from Bell Witch to Beast of LBL and several other ones. They do a really good job with their research, both before on the computer, however they find out the information, and they actually go to the sites and also investigate there also. So let's welcome Johnny and Elijah Henderson.
Hello.
Hey,
hello.
How are y'all tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing very well, brother.
Doing great. I know we're going to do like we normally do. We're going to let each one of you introduce yourself, where you're from, and anything you do besides cryptid stuff.
Sounds good. Well, my name is Johnny Henderson. I am the founder of Cryptid Studies Institute. I hail from the mountains of East Tennessee. The Lord blessed me in that aspect and made me Appalachian, so I'm pretty thankful for that. Our family originally come here from Scotland and settled into the mountain ranges and just filtered on down to East Tennessee. And all my life I've had a vivid interest in cryptids because I was raised up in this little small town. And they always told tales about when in the 60s, they lived down an old dirt road and how something would follow them. It just started out of the blue. Something started following them home at night. And it'd be up on a big muddy hillside. And rocks would come rolling down as it walked up here watching them. They walk, it runs, it runs. The same story everybody tells.
Yeah.
But it got to where it would eventually chase them up on the porch and try to get in the house. And this was an old house back when they didn't have door locks, and they would have to actually slide the refrigerator and the stove and stuff in front of the door to keep it out. And, they began to see it, and they began to steal their hogs. And they literally watched it, said it looked like a gorilla or an ape loped out of the woods and reached over and grabbed about a 250-pound hog, or maybe 350 pounds, hard to remember. But it just throwed it over his shoulders and walked off. And they had a gun. They were afraid to shoot it because they said it'd just make that thing mad and it would have killed us.
Right.
So I've always had an interest in it. And then we had an experience down in Werewolf Springs in Dixon, Tennessee, and that just really fueled the fire. And we've been going with it ever since. And we make our little documentaries and videos, and we try to make those by actually going out to where people had an encounter and literally showing you the landscape, try to walk you through what happened, even a little history of the area. We literally go not just to the internet to study. We'll we'll look up old volumes and tomes and books and things of that nature, and really try to, if we have to, we'll buy an old piece of literature just to be able to quote it. So we really try to put hours and hours of actual research and study into it. We'll go out and spend hours or days in the woods in that area just so we can try to make it authentic. I know a lot of people, they might go out on location, but then they'll just tell somebody's tale. But we want you to see it and feel like it's interactive, almost like you're a part of it. So that's kind of how we do what we do and what we like to do. Occasionally we'll do an interview, something like this. We don't do many of them because, man, who really has time to commit to a weekly radio show? I used to do that, and it was one of the most tiresome things in the world, and finding good guests, because a lot of people tell lies, and it's really hard to find credible people sometimes.
Right.
But that's kind of how I got into it. And Elijah got into it because I'm his daddy and I made him.
Drug him into it.
Yeah.
That's actually a big reason why it is.
But you can go ahead and tell, son.
My name's Elijah Henderson. I help him run the Cryptid Studies Institute. We consider it basically a father-son organization. And like
we
said,
do have another couple of members. A gentleman named David Mills who works with us.
Great individual.
Great individual. He does a lot of stuff for us up north, and we hope to bring him on to where more people will see him more on camera and with us and such.
And he actually has a lot of great stories to tell.
Oh, yes. We're not going to spoil any of them.
No, we're not going to spoil that. I reckon I got into this type of hobby, passion, science. He actually briefly mentioned that we had an experience in an area of Tennessee called Werewolf Springs, and that's really what got us started in this.
In a big way.
We to make a long story short, we were on the trail, the main trail, and we got off the trail, and as we were wandering around in the woods there, the train whistle went by because there's a set of railroad tracks that run alongside the back of this park here. And the train comes by and it blows its whistle. And when it does that, something howls back at that whistle as if it's crying out in pain. Sounds like an 800-pound wolf. And the volume was just so extreme. You could feel it shaking in your chest and it would vibrate you. And it was terrifying. I was about 5 at the time, 5 or 6.
Somewhere about there, I'd say.
So I've been involved with this type of thing since about 2001, 2002, thereabout. And following that event, we joined a Bigfoot organization called, I think it was the Chattahoochee Bigfoot Organization.
Yep.
And they did a lot of research up in East
Headed
Tennessee.
up by Jeff Teagle.
And they worked a lot with the famous and lovely Mary Green, who was unfortunately passed away. But that's really how we got involved in this type of thing. And after my experience at such a young age, I was terrified of it at the time, and it took a lot of time for me to go out in the woods. But I eventually got my footing, and now you can't keep me out of it.
Oh, my goodness. Now we get off out in the woods. We'll be down in the middle of LBL or anywhere for that matter. And he'll just take off and go flying off in the woods. And I'm like, Elijah, stop. I can't walk as fast as you. You got to wait up on me, son. What's wrong with you? You know, even if it's not a cryptid, there could be a darn wolf or a bear or anything out there get on you. You're going to need some backup there. Wait for me.
And we'll
still get there.
And we actually have seen wolves at LBL, so we do know they're there.
We did, even though the park told us there are no wolves except in petting zoo. We saw 2 big old, look like red wolves standing up in the field.
Beautiful, beautiful animals.
And these weren't dog men. These were actual wolves.
Legitimate red wolves.
All right, let me ask y'all a question. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I was just making sure of the video rolling there. So I know the hot topic is the Beast of LBL, so we're not going to start there. I'm interested.
You're showing Hotel California.
That was a fun day going down there.
But I know y'all did a documentary on the Bell Witch, and I've been to the Bell Witch Cave, and I know y'all have been talking about problems since y'all have went there and did that.
So many problems.
Our transmission started going out today in our only vehicle to get my wife to her cancer treatments.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: since we've started that documentary, all four family members, we're a family of four. All four family members have been to the emergency room. I almost lost my eye. 3 cars have blown up.
I've lost 2 jobs. I
jobs.
separated 5 ribs.
I know
we had a water heater go out.
Multiple family members died.
Like 3 dryers, a washer. What else?
I know there's more.
Oh, there's a ton more. Some weird, like different things in the yard just randomly come up missing. There has been a weird shadow or two in the house. Something sat on the bed with my wife.
Happened to you too, you told me.
Yeah, well, it happened to me too. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell that on TV.
I'm just going with what you told me.
One of the really weird things that's happened to us since we've been fooling with this documentary is my wife loves Christmas. And you know, I sensed that she was getting sick. You know, I knew something was wrong with her, even though she's like, no, honey, I'm fine. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure she's going to live to Christmas. And I know she loves it. So we built her a 6-foot wooden Christmas tree outside year round so she could sit out and look at the lights in case she didn't make it. And we built all these walkways and decks and everything. And we bedecked them with, colored Christmas lights and such. And a few times when we left, now we live off down in a holler. We're like 354 feet from the road. There's nobody even knows there's a house down here except our 2 neighbors up front, and they don't come down here. We've never had a Christmas or a trick-or-treater.
Nope.
But while we were gone a couple of times, 7 strands of our Christmas lights were physically turned on. You literally have to push a button, and it's a very stiff button.
Right.
And 7 strands of them were turned on. We come home, and it kind of weirded us out. We go out, we turn them off, and we put a trail cam out. And we come in the house, we start doing something, go out about an hour later, and there's another set of lights turned on now over here on the other side, out of the visual range of the trail cam.
And it's not like it was on the other side of the yard either. It was literally just outside.
Just outside the scope of that trail cam.
And I can't remember if he mentioned it, but some of these boxes that you have to push to turn the lights on, we got them hidden underneath the deck.
Yeah, they're hid underneath the deck.
Places.
So somebody who comes down here is not going to just know where they're at.
Yeah.
So it's been really one bizarrety after another here. I've literally, you know, we found out my wife had cancer after we started on this thing. Had several loved ones die. I mean, the litany of things just goes on and on. I told Elijah yesterday, I said, if I knew that it would all stop, I would just finish this second video and quit. Maybe make a short third video to just wrap everything up and just quit, because it's going to be about 7 parts.
We had a water heater break.
I said a water heater broke.
Oh, I didn't hear you. We had a water heater break.
Yeah. And then a flooding incident in the bathroom in the other room. So now I've got to tear up the floor, replace the toilet too, whenever I get time, if I ever get time. And it don't seem like that'll ever happen. So, but and I'm sure as we sit here, we could think of a lot more, but all of that since we actually started working on this video.
So whenever y'all went and shot the video on site, where all did y'all visit?
We've been to the cave, which
we actually did go back and get footage before they closed down to, coronavirus.
But let me say something about the cave, and I don't want to throw a monkey wrench at anybody's, Bell Witch pitch who's trying to make money off a cave. Historically, there's only one event actually happened in the cave.
Yes.
Now, sometimes they would hear voices close to the cave, but the witch only actually is known to have been in the cave one time.
And I think they would occasionally hear something from the mouth of the cave and along the river, but actually inside the cave, there's only one event.
But we did go there, and we had a bizarre experience there, a picture we took.
We did.
Did you send them the picture?
I honestly didn't think to. I wish I had. But,
we can probably send it to you after the show, but there was a bizarre picture we took of Elijah. We're Scottish, and he was walking in the cave. He had his kilt on. I took his picture from behind as he's walking up in there. and the reflection in front of him, his shadow is going one direction, but there's another shadow on the wall. It looks like a hooded figure holding a sickle, and you can see it outlined on the wall. And then there's almost a lady's face in shadow there as well.
Well, it's clear. It's
it's clear as a bell. It's a woman's face,
but
and it wasn't there when we, went in the cave. You couldn't see it, but it showed up in the picture.
But another thing, this particular shadow that was on the wall, my mother was in front of me. She had her hand on the side of the cave wall, and the shadow passed over the top of her arm.
Actually, the shadow wasn't over her arm. It was behind her arm. It didn't cast. So the shadow didn't even cast on her arm.
Yeah.
So it was just really a bizarre situation altogether.
I'll try to send that to you.
But we filmed around there a little bit. They don't let you film in the cave. But we got kind of close. We filmed some areas in the county. We got some shots of where the actual homestead was, and you can't get the graveyard itself is not owned by any entity. It's its own thing, but it's landlocked with private property to where you can't get to the actual graves. There is a Bell cemetery, and there's a couple of people that was kin to the Bell family in it, but none of the major players, so to speak.
Probably the most prominent there that I know of is Charles Bailey Bell. He wrote the Black Book. That's his nickname, the Bell Witch, a Mysterious Spirit, and it's considered one of the most prominent books on the subject. That and what is nicknamed the Red Book, the Authenticated History of the Bell Witch. Those are the two most prominent books on the subject.
But it's a fascinating story. It's one of our favorites, and we'd really like to tell the whole story. A normal script for us is about 15 pages, and it's about an hour-long documentary. Well, so far we're at 80-something pages and still going with our Bell Witch script. He's about to put the finishing touches on part 2 and start part 3.
So that'll be out in a few days, barring some terrible disaster.
Yeah, and it just seems like one disaster after another keeps hitting us. And if I thought for 1 minute that it would stop, I would just give up on this Bell Witch documentary. It's slowly killing us.
Yeah, I was going to ask y'all if y'all collected a rock in your shoe or something and brought it home.
Oh, we didn't just get one in our shoe. We brought it home.
We brought home wood from
we got
cabin.
A piece of the cabin.
Really?
Like the original cabins, yeah.
Well, y'all need to get rid of that stuff.
No, it's mine now. It's too cool to get rid of.
I understand, but I know the lady.
Maybe we all drowned in salt.
That salt's for my dinner.
Yeah.
I know the lady gave y'all the speech about people that got rocks from the cave, sent them back because they had bad luck and all that.
Well, we've always kind of wondered, is that a self-fulfilling prophecy? That you make bad things happen. That's all we always maintain. But we've had so much bad luck. We've actually had to go, is there something to it? I don't know. But we sure had more than our fair share of bad luck. It's just unnatural bad luck.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work as fast as I can to try to get the rest of the parts out and be done with it.
Yeah. Hopefully we will, because nobody has that many disasters in a year and a half's time.
No.
Yeah. So y'all actually went to where the homestead actually was, because if you go visit the cave, they've got a makeshift cabin that's similar to the one that they lived in.
They try to imply that there's a few pieces of wood or something out of the original cabin in that, but who knows?
Well, the honest answer is I believe I heard that the only thing, and I don't want to speak ill of somebody, but I believe I heard the only thing connecting their cabin to the original is they have kind of a big iron pot that the Bells used to own there.
Is that a fact?
I believe I heard that. Now, the one that's by the Bell School, where the Bell Witch Museum is, that cabin there, there's a high, I'll even say maybe probability that wood from the original cabin was included in that cabin when it was built, like they reused pieces from it, or so.
Yeah, when they tore down the original homestead, there may be a few pieces of wood from the original cabin in it.
It's highly possible.
Okay.
But the Bell Witch story is absolutely fascinating. Somebody was saying that it didn't have much to do with cryptids. That is incredibly wrong. You'd be surprised how cryptid related the Bell Witch story is.
Yeah.
And the more you dig into this, did we hit on the cryptids this time? Or?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did in the first part. Did you watch the first part?
Yes, I did.
We talked about some of the cryptids and such, but we found we talked to a historian on the Bell Witch sometime back, probably about 10 years ago. He had a little shop above the school, and he told us at the time in confidence, I don't know where he's got off to now, but that he was doing some research and found that there was a link between Mrs. Bell, Lucy Bell, and the Salem witch trials. And he wouldn't elaborate on what that was, but he said it seemed like a very good link between the two, and he felt like that the family had come under a curse because some of her relatives had spread false information at the Salem witch trials, and she was kind of being punished because of what her ancestor did. We didn't think a whole lot about it at the time, but as we've been studying about it, Lucy's maiden name was
Lucy Williams.
Lucy Williams Bell. And Abigail Williams was one of the first women to actually accuse somebody in the Bell Witch or in the Salem witch trials. Okay. Now, we can't prove that they were relatives, but where it gets interesting is after the witch trials, Abigail Williams actually moved somewhere towards the coast and settled there, which puts her right in the area where Lucy Williams come from.
Her and John
Bell. And then it gets even more interesting because rumor has it she further moved in later years to the West Indies. And what makes that interesting is the Bell Witch, when it came to visit, told people and even brought fruit, said it had been off in the West Indies.
It was
the very place that Abigail Williams supposedly moved off to and died.
It had supposedly made multiple trips to the West Indies because you find that referenced by it multiple times.
And Tituba, one of the women who was accused of witchcraft in the Salem witch trials, some accounts have her coming from either that she was either a black lady who came from the West Indies or she was a South American Indian. But a lot of people say that she actually came from the West Indies. And Tituba, during the trials, claimed that she seen upright creatures walking around the forest, which that brings you back to cryptids again.
Right. Well, I also, when Debbie and I went and visited the Bell Witch Cave, we talked to the daughter of the current owner of the Bell Witch Cave, and asked about any Bigfoot activity or anything around there. And there was a sighting on the property, and there was a scream from deep in the cave that the way she said it could have been a Bigfoot, or who knows, but there has been activity, a sighting, and other things happening there besides that. And I know one of the initial stories from the Bells, when all this stuff is going on, that they saw some type of creature too, right?
Yeah, there was a couple of things. They actually saw like a large black doggish thing. They knew it was a canine, but it's something they've never seen it before. So we asked the question, given the description of it, big, black, something unseen, large. Could it have been a dog man?
Right. And you hear a lot of times people say that John Bell seen a dog with the head of a rabbit. Well, going through the original story, I don't know where people have come up with that, because I've read that whole book.
Both books.
Yeah, both books.
We've read about everything on the subject. Yeah. And
we don't know where that comment came from.
But with the drawings that you see of a dog man, what does it look like? It looks like it almost has rabbit ears on it. That might account for where they say it had a rabbit head.
Right. That's true.
But in that area, not very far from it, there's also something that's referred to as the critter of Carr Creek. Some people claim it looks like either an American hyena, which people say is one of those Shunkawarikans, or some sort of a Bigfoot or a dogman creature. Nobody. I think there's actually a couple of things going on out there.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this question. It's up here. Tracy R. Bowen asks, this entire comment should be capitalized. What to do with that wood? Talking about the wood y'all brought home. possessed wood. Can you burn it to get rid of the possession, or do you need to return it? If it was so,
I guess we should back up and say what the urban legend is at the cave. They say when you visit the cave, if you take rocks out of the cave, you'll have just such terrible luck that you almost have to mail it back, and many people have.
Right.
And we've taken rocks from the cave. We've taken rocks from around that town
over many years and didn't have problems with it. So I'd be hard pressed to really think that a rock out of a cave where nothing really happened would bring bad luck.
I've never heard anything specific about taking, like wood from that cabin before. We found some loose around it in the mud.
Well, now this is unrelated, but in my hometown, there is a lady down there who claims that she sold her soul to the devil. There's a couple of reasons why. Somebody said that it was if Satan would give her the man that she loved, that she would trade her soul for it. But she actually built her house out of pieces of a cabin that somebody had they claim was possessed. And in her house, she would see things at night come to the foot of her bed and crawl into bed. She said it kind of looked like a hog that would try to strangle her in the evening. And also claimed to see Indians, like big Indian chiefs, wandering around her room and stuff. But yeah, she was tormented for years by something coming nightly trying to strangle her. And she built her house out of wood that came from a house where someone had been possessed.
Yeah. Flat Rock Booger says, CSI, how many times have y'all been attacked by the paranormal spirits?
None that I'm not going to say that. Years ago, I lived in an apartment, and I used to believe in ghosts and things of that nature. I don't believe in ghosts as such anymore. I believe it's demonic entities.
I agree.
But I lived in this apartment, and there was horrible, horrible things would go on in that apartment. Nightmares every night. You'd hear little jabbering, whispery voices. My sister spent the night, and she swears that something held her down on the floor while she was sleeping and was biting her on the legs and told her it was going to get her. And there's no real reason for this. We always, because we were superstitious, thought maybe the man downstairs had murdered somebody. we just didn't know, but it got to the point that we ended up having to move.
Yeah.
I guess that would be a supernatural thing. And if we're actually being pestered right now by something of a supernatural nature, I guess twice.
And I wouldn't even say anything we're having now is an actual attack.
Now, I'll ask you this, if you think this is supernatural or not. To me, I've never been able to explain it. When I was a little boy living in East Tennessee, down in the country, it was like way out in the country. My Aunt Myrtle had a farm, and all the kids in the family ended up just being dumped at Myrtle's house, while the parents was doing this, that, or the other, whether they were working or off partying or whatever they done. Myrtle become the repository for everybody's children. And one day, a lot of us were outside. We were off in the field next to the woods, playing in the mud, making mud pies like kids do. Man, I couldn't have been more than between 3 and 5 years old. And my cousin Ginger was a couple of years older than I am. And while we're playing, she comes walking out of the woods wearing a white dress, like she was dressed for church, white hose, everything. And she's trying to get the rest of us kids to come with her into the woods, further on into the woods. And we were busy having fun. We're playing, and we just kept going, no, 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 no. And eventually she turned around and just walked back into the woods and left us alone. Yeah. Well, we played another little bit and finished up, and then we went back to the house. And when we get back to the house, we see the car coming down the dirt road, and it pulls up to the house and it stops. And who gets out of the car? Ginger, dressed entirely different. Ginger hadn't been home all day. Ginger had been in town with the grown-ups.
I love that story.
So we have no clue what that was. Is it supernatural? Maybe, but who can say?
Right. But it wasn't Ginger.
Yeah, it wasn't Ginger. And there was several of us kids who saw her.
Yeah. All right. I know Ghost Adventures went to the Bell Witch Cave in the Bell Witch area there and did the show. And they kind of concluded that they thought it was an old Indian burial ground and it was a curse of some sort from an Indian burial ground.
Well, I think it was the devil or a demon. If you read all through the books and the things that spirit said to John Bell, wasn't it?
Well, to multiple people.
Yeah, to multiple people, it said that it was a spirit that had once been happy, and even used the words that had been cast out. And that it had once been unimaginably happy and could never go back, could never go home. And then it would always defend the divinity of Jesus Christ. It would never criticize Jesus Christ for anything. Well, let's go refer to him as the creator. Go ahead.
Finish your thought.
It's lost.
To take it just a little bit further, it referred to itself multiple times as a demon. And one little bit of an interesting story, very unique. In the Red Book, it's the first book on the subject, the authenticated history of the Bell Witch. There's a feller who would come and visit the cabin. His name was I forget his first name, but it was like something. I think it may have been Suggs Fourth. Something real.
Is that Sugar Mouth?
No, that wasn't old Sugar Mouth.
Okay.
But the spirit took to calling this gentleman Uncle Suggy. And
Uncle Suggy, yes.
And it would say to him, "Well, hey, Uncle Suggy, how you doing? How do you like being uncle to the devil?"
Yeah, wow.
And a lot of people don't know that this thing would pretend to be a whole family of witches. It would introduce these other characters and have different voices for them. It had one named Sypocryphy and Jerusalem and Mathematics and Black Dog.
And I actually want to mention something. It's called the Bell Witch, and that tends to confuse a lot of people. But if, as people may remember, it referred to itself as Kate Batts' Witch.
I never said it was Kate Batts.
I found out actually what that meant around that time, and I reckon before, when somebody would say that's so and so's witch, it could also refer to, I believe, a familiar spirit, which was another term they would use for its spirit, I believe.
Yeah.
So when they say Kate Batts' spirit, witch, they would also mean it's Kate Batts' spirit or maybe familiar spirit.
And when you say witch, people automatically imagine a woman with a wart on its nose or something like that.
Right.
You know, this thing even spoke in a male voice at times.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know if it was male, female, or what. People just assumed that it was a woman, and they called it Kate.
Yeah.
But it you know, and it would mix a lot of biblical truth with just a little bit of error, you know, and it really come off more as a demonic entity to me than any kind of.
I feel the same way about
specter
it.
Or ghost.
When you read the one that really seems to go into more detail on that, I would say, is the Charles Bailey Bell book. It literally seems like you're just reading about a fallen angel, you know.
It's just weird to me that it was so malicious to some and nurturing to others.
Well, think about it. Like we were mentioning the link between Lucy Bell, right?
Yeah.
If she was somehow being tormented for some crime that her relative done, how else would you torture a mother than to treat her like gold, but yes, heap cruelties on her children and her husband?
Yeah, that's true.
That would be the most horrible thing that you could do is make somebody's family suffer while treating them good.
Yeah, you're right. I've never thought of that, but that's true.
I showed a video from that abandoned Boy Scout camp.
Standing Stone Park.
I love that day.
Well, I guess we'll move on from the Bell Witch because y'all got 5-6 more parts of that coming out, right?
If we live through it.
Yeah. If we live.
Well, I'll be watching for it, and I hope you don't rub any off through the airwaves there. I don't want none of that.
We'll send you some rocks. What's your address?
I'm moving.
How about some souvenirs?
Yeah, we've even got one that we plan to do at some point on the Real Exorcist house. We've already been up and filmed some footage for it, and the Devil's Crossroads, where Robert Johnson supposedly sold his soul to the devil.
Yeah.
We actually run into a couple that had a weird experience
Oh, yeah.
down there at the Devil's Crossroads. They'd been at a New Year's party, and they were driving past where the actual crossroads was, and it was midnight, and there was no, it's 3 o'clock. Was it 3 o'clock?
I think it was midnight because this happened, I believe, at the stroke of midnight. As they
Okay,
said.
but anyway, when they got to the Devil's Crossroads, their car died. It got real foggy, and they could see a man and a shape of a man in the fog walking round and round their car, just while it wouldn't start. And then at once he disappeared. The car started up.
Now, wait a minute. You forgot to mention, I
I
think
probably
they said,
did. I'm old.
I think they mentioned that this thing was knocking on the windows.
Yes,
going
it
all
was
the way
knocking
around.
on their windows as it went around the car.
Wow. Yeah. That creeps me out just thinking about that.
We're
So-
having a bit of technical difficulty on our end.
Well, they said if we had technical difficulty to keep talking.
Okie doke.
That's true.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Well,
Can you hear me?
Well, ad lib, I guess.
we'll ad lib. Yes, that's what we'll do until this works itself out. Now, while we were down there, we also went to Taylor, Mississippi, which seems to have a big history of dogman sightings, allegedly. And while we were down there at the Devil's Crossroads, we go to Taylor, Mississippi, and it kind of hits us. These two places, Taylor, Mississippi, famous for dogmen, is only 50 miles from Clarksdale, Mississippi. Robert Johnson wrote a song, Hellhound on My Trail. And we got to thinking, is it possible, given the close proximity, that Robert may have actually saw a dog man
And I don't think
and misinterpreted as a hellhound?
and I don't think many people have considered that before, but I mean, you kind of have to take that into consideration. It's quite an interesting thing.
See the footage going there. That is
That's-
Land Between the Lakes.
That's the land between the lakes.
That's the area that is referred to as the kill site.
Right. Are y'all able to hear me now?
Nah, unfortunately, we're still having a.
How about now?
We can hear you.
There we go.
All right. I'm messaging to take the video off. But how do y'all go about choosing your next subject for your shows? Is it close proximity? Is it just something you have a natural
Some of it's
interest?
close proximity because there's some places we really want to go. We're actually wanting to do a werewolf documentary, a big one, almost a movie length. We want to go to Talbot County, Georgia, and do the Talbot County werewolf. Converse, Texas, to see the Converse werewolf area.
We'd love to hit Bray Road.
Bray Road, the Waddy werewolf up in Kentucky, and some of these other hot spots like LBL, which we've hit, Werewolf Springs, and not Mammoth Cave, but
Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone. I never can remember Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone National Forest.
Yeah.
And we'd like to include these in a really inclusive movie package, but we haven't had time to do it yet.
Yeah.
So we will a lot of times, plan to do one if we're going out of town. We go to a lot of cons, different cryptid cons, comic cons. Man, we used to go to a lot of those before my wife got sick. In fact, we've met around 400 different celebrities.
Thereabout.
Yeah.
And, or if we're going at Christmas time to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Love that band, by the way. Great, great people. Know all the members. But if we're going somewhere that's had some sort of event, if it's somewhere that we're going on a trip, we'll film the stuff for a Nightmare Nugget there.
Yeah.
And like right now, we're working on one that's pretty close to us in Indian Mound. The property owner he's got some health challenges. So we want to try to put it together where he can see it in case something happens to him. We want to go ahead and do that one. So we're working on it simultaneously with Bell Witch Part 2.
Right.
And we'll probably finish Bell Witch by the time we get it done. But I'd like to speed through and get Indian Mound out, so he can see it. And one of his favorite movies is Boggy Creek.
Yeah.
One of his favorite cryptid movies. So we're going to try to do a little love letter to Boggy Creek with it, maybe kind of similar filming styles, just for this guy.
A bit of a cinematic nod.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's cool.
I think people are going to be well pleased when we do the video episode at Indian Mound, because it's got surprisingly a real interesting history. We've recorded a lot of noises up there that are real interesting.
A huge amount of sightings from different people over the years.
Yes, and it's so close to LBL, it connects to that too.
Right.
And one of the noises that you guys put on the spectrograph that we got from the LBL, we recorded those same noises out at this property in Indian Mound.
Twice. At least twice.
For those that
Hey, I like that guy.
that tuned in late, Johnny and Elijah are having problems hearing whenever we put 3 feeds up. So me and Larry will be jumping back and forth, and we do have some spectrograms to look at. So this first one, y'all titled it W2 Whoop. And so can you give us a little bit of background on this one before we listen to it?
First, I'm not sure why it's got that name.
Yeah, it's probably me being lazy when I was going through noises and going, oh man, I can't remember what this is called, W2 or something. So it probably got a weird name just because I was too lazy to try to think of a real name. But we were camping out on this property. We used to do a lot of Bigfoot research out there. And that was before we become aware of that there was even a possibility of dogmen. And we were sitting around camped out in a field. And as we're talking, something just come up to the wood line and made a whoop. And I think that's what you've got there.
Yeah.
But this is Indian Mound, Tennessee.
Okay. We will go ahead and play this spectrogram, and we will let this clip play 5 times.
Tired of doing that night that we 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 tired of doing that night that we
Now, we've caught multiple of those whoops out there over the years.
Yeah.
In fact, you guys will probably love this right here. On this same property, there is, you'll hear a sound. And probably 2 or 3 miles down the road, there's a farmer there who owned a donkey. And I mean, 2 or 3 miles away, he's got a donkey. There's no way for this donkey to access the property and get to where these people live, where we're camped on their property. But you'll be set up out there, and something will come up just in the woodline to you and start braying and hollering like a donkey. And I know it's this Bigfoot out here. We've kind of nicknamed this guy Grimace. The property owners have seen him a couple of times, but it will make a noise like a donkey. And somewhere, and we keep trying to find it again, this donkey sound come up behind the tent, or actually geodesic dome. We built a 12-foot geodesic dome out there.
That's really cool.
It's got some damage to it now. We got to go back and repair it.
Yeah, we do.
But we'd use it as our kind of camping area. And this donkey come up behind it and started braying and hollering, and then it got strangled and started coughing. And we knew right then it wasn't a real donkey. Something was imitating this donkey. And the donkey's been gone from the farm it was on for about 2 or 3 years, maybe longer than that. But yet it still comes around pretending to be a donkey.
We were up there, was it last Friday?
Yeah.
And we were asking the owner there, so when was the last time you heard the donkey? Do you still hear it? Well, darn, I heard it 2 days ago.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time that we have gotten accounts of Bigfoot mimicking other animals or other sounds. So that's quite plausible that that this Bigfoot, a part of its travel route, it went around to where it could hear donkeys. And so it would be mimicking donkeys wherever it would go.
It sure does. It still does it. Now, what's interesting, one of the noises, like the second noise that you got that is a cryptid related noise, we genuinely believe it's a dog man, because Vic Cundiff on his show, he has an episode where these Irishmen come over here, and they were, I think, in South Carolina, and they encountered a dog man. They saw the dog man. They filmed it, or not filmed it, but recorded it hollering. And it's the same animal that you've got this noise for. But one of our other recordings of this animal screaming, you can hear off in the background this supposed donkey hollering back distantly at this thing that we believe is a dog man.
And for those who aren't familiar with Vic Cundiff by chance, he runs the channel Dogman Encounters.
Okay, let's listen to this other spectrogram, and I'll let you give us a little bit of the backstory. This one here was called LBL Howls.
Yes. Now, we got this in LBL, in the location, or near the location where the supposed bow hunter's body was found. That's not in question. The bow hunter was found there. Now, whether he was killed by a cryptid or not, that's what's in debate. But where his body was found, and someone else in 2016 saw a dog man, we recorded this noise, which matches up perfectly to the sounds that was recorded on Vic Cundiff's show.
And this was about 6 o'clock in the morning. It was right as the sun was coming up.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll play this clip, and it will play 3 times.
You know, when we first recorded that, right when it first started howling, I was scrambling to get to the van to find that recorder and get it all hooked up.
Yeah, because it was doing it for several minutes before we got the recorder out.
Hello again, Larry.
I'm back.
Hey, they changed up again.
Tag team. So, tell us about y'all's interest in the beast of LBL and what have y'all found out about that?
Well, we're about like everybody else. You know, we always heard the rumor about the beast of LBL. Didn't put much stock into it. We just assumed it was a misidentified Bigfoot. Didn't know there was anything called a dog man for many years. And as I got to looking into the phenomenon and talked to so many different people and read so many accounts of like legitimate businessmen and doctors and lawyers and, you know, professionals who have seen these things, did I ever start taking it serious? So we started taking a look at the beast of LBL, and we set out that we were going to try to find where this so-called attack took place, you know, because it was just an urban legend, but we wanted to see if we could find out where it took place. So we started going back and looking at every story that we could hear and think of, and looking at Jan Thompson's original description of the land, and Coombo Baker. He was another person who had some very interesting descriptions of the land. And we listened to what everybody had to say, and through a process of elimination, you know, we went to the location that everybody seems to think is where it happened. They'll take you right down by the water's edge, and it just didn't fit the bill for the descriptions everybody gave of the attack, how it happened. And we got to looking out, and we listened in detail to what they said, and we went and found the location where Coombo said it was, and it matched up exactly to where Jan Thompson said it was. And as we got to looking around, we found telephone poles that had been cut down to the ground. Looked like bathhouses that had been pushed over. Area, a wide loop where people could have drove an RV around. And we're just convinced that that's the place. And they've even put an iron gate up across the road. You can see how there used to be like clay pipes going under like a little roadway to allow water to run under. Now, supposedly there was a creek in this area, but now because the land has been shifted around, cosmetically, the creek runs off down in a gully now. So we really believe that it matches all the criteria for the site of the killings.
And it's across from a cemetery,
Yep.
like has always been included in the legend.
And then you have the fact that it's the location, because I believe Jan, after watching our videos, said that we were in the right spot, didn't she?
I can't remember, honestly.
I want to say she did. I don't want to misquote her, but I thought she did. And then I know a lot of people don't put any stock in what he said, but Roger, the guy that claims to be a witness to the massacre, he said, you guys got it dead on the money. You're exactly where it's at. And it's the same place that Kumbo says it's at.
And Larry, I want to give you a heads up. I know y'all about to be doing a live show out there.
Yes, please pay attention to what he's about to say.
When y'all go out there, make sure to park at the cemetery and go in, because they've been giving people hefty fines who are driving.
Do not
their
take a
cars in
vehicle
there.
through that gate. If you do, you're asking for a big old hefty ticket.
There's been people that are driving in there, and then people at LBL descend on them, and they get a hefty fine.
Into the cemetery?
You can park at the cemetery, but if you go through that iron gate,
Yeah.
it's open now. But if you go through that iron gate,
Yeah.
even though they've got it open, they're going to levy a fee on you.
And that's if you pull your car in there.
Yeah, you can still walk in, but they better not catch a vehicle in there.
Wow. Why don't they put up a sign?
I guess they want to levy tickets on you.
Yeah, because I went up there a couple of weeks ago and I saw that gate open and I almost drove down there. And I'm like, well, I already know what's down there. And
yeah,
there's
they've
a
nailed
box
several
there.
people on that lately.
Well, LBL, they're about to be going through budget cuts, so they're going to be looking for some money somewhere.
They've already increased the permit in backcountry camping.
Have they really?
It went from like $35 to $70 or $75.
$70.
Last summer we paid $50 for ours.
Okay. Well, they
Ours
went
is
up
probably
again.
gonna run out.
Yeah, ours is going to run out, and I'm going to have to get them again. Before my wife got sick, I guarantee you we were probably down there more than any other researcher. We was down there camping 2 or 3 nights a week, and we literally got ran out of one location by something.
I saw the video of that.
Did you? Yeah, we blowed that dog whistle, and like 40 seconds later, it sounded like a T-Rex coming through the woods, tearing trees out and breaking limbs.
Mark, write that down, dog whistle. We got to go get one.
Now, oddly enough, we used the dog whistle on the south end where we thought we was communicating with a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And it started whistling back at us, very happy, almost like playing a game. It would mimic what we would do.
Yeah.
And we come back a few days later and was doing some tree knocks, and the thing come back and started whistling at us, wanting us to blow the whistle again. It seemed to enjoy it, but whatever was up there on the north end, no way, it did not like that whistle.
Yeah. Several people say the north end's where the dog men are and the south end's where the Bigfoot still hold.
It is right around the elk and bison range.
Yeah.
Northward, you have more dog man.
Generally, the elk and bison prairie is the dividing line between the two. Now, there have been things. There's even been a sighting at the elk and bison prairie, and supposedly a few further down below.
Not much further.
But
we did find one Sasquatch track, we believe, up in the north end.
Yes.
But it's the only one we've ever found up there.
Yeah.
It seems like dogmen and Bigfoot largely stay out of each other's area. And every park I've ever been to, every private property, we found the same phenomenon. The dogmen always seem to stay to the north, and the big feet always stay to the south. I've never found it transversed anywhere we've ever been.
Well, the only place that may be an exception is around where Werewolf Springs is because
Yeah, but they're in both ends. I mean, they both stay there.
I know we found we believe
Yeah, we found
at
footprints
the same
consistent with
area.
Dogman. We found footprints consistent with Bigfoot in that area. So that's the only place we found that they kind of occupy the same location.
Right.
And if you've never heard of Werewolf Springs before,
That's a good
look that
spot.
up.
You'll want to go there.
That's got an interesting history to it.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that till y'all mentioned it earlier, and I'm like, I don't want to go there.
We've got a video on it.
It's one
I'll
of my
take a look at
favorite
it.
places in Tennessee, probably.
Yeah. So out of the story of Beast LBL, I know how much y'all research. From the original story, not going into Roger yet, let's just stick to the original story. Did y'all find anything that corroborated that story through y'all's research other than people?
Other than the location, not really.
Yeah,
Okay.
the location is probably the biggest piece of evidence.
Because it matches up to everything you would expect an old campground to have.
Right.
Now, these are the bunkers, or part of the bunkers that everybody's always going on about. And they're like, oh, this is what they used to have the military come and hide in and try to attract the beast. Yeah. Well, I don't think that's what that is. I really believe, because there's some of these in my hometown, in a place called Pocket Wilderness, that used to be an old coal mine. And the same type of buildings were used there as dynamite storage sheds. So I think some of these are probably used for dynamite storage when they were building the park. Now, not all of them, of course. Some of them look like they were pertaining to water in some way, because you'll see water pipes coming into them, maybe like as a water storage or something. Maybe even some of them could even be like where old farms and homesteads used to be. Yep, there it is, there. That's Pocket Wilderness.
And that ventilation shaft, and there's the dynamite shack that's up there.
But that ventilation shaft you just saw, we had a park ranger tell us that he's had 5 people tell him that they had seen a Bigfoot coming out of that shaft.
Wow.
Of course, we got him on film saying it, but we can't post it because he'd get fired over it.
Yeah,
his boss told him to quit telling people about it.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. We don't want him to lose his job. He's always likable to talk to.
But if he dies, we're going to post it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, at that point, it won't matter.
Yeah, they can't do nothing else to him then.
Yeah.
No, sir. Nothing at all. So, through the Beast LBL's documentary y'all did, Roger contacted y'all.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
He contacted us just to let us know that we got some things right and we got some things wrong. And he started relaying some information, and I wrote back to him and I said, if you really have all this information, I'd like to speak with you. And I left my personal phone number, and he started writing me. And then I deleted those other comments so that everybody didn't have my phone number and could start writing me.
Right.
And yeah. And so I deleted all the original comments. And the more we talked, I knew that this man had some kind of information, because he was describing landscape. He was describing what the weather was, the day, the year, what kind of vehicle they had, vehicles plural rather, how they functioned, how they operated, and what the family's name was. He eventually trusted us enough to tell us the family's last name and everything, and where they were from. And we checked out to see if there even was a family surname by this name anywhere in that area. And sure enough, it's a very prominent name. The maiden name of the wife, again, prominent name. Every aspect, this guy was honest with us. He confessed that he'd been using, he don't have social media, so he made one up to look around on YouTube under the name Tyler Freeze. And he said, but that's not my real name. My real name is this. and he gave me his phone number, and I backtracked the number, and it showed up registered to him what he said his name was and where he said he lived. A hoaxer's not really going to tell you, where they live and give you their name, especially when they're a professional business owner.
He mentioned once, they're about to have a snowstorm come through the area.
Yeah, and
looked at that, and
he said, I can't do the interview with you today because we're about to get hit with a snowstorm. And so I looked up on the weather report, and sure enough, where he lived, he didn't know I was looking it up, but he was getting a snowstorm. So the man's been honest with us about everything. He's not, I mean, if he is lying, he is the most researched, practiced liar I've ever encountered.
And if you remember, we actually had somebody contact us that said they've actually worked with people from Hollywood and professional actors and actresses, and they said that Roger seemed so honest and genuine that he couldn't.
Yeah, this person was like was he like a psychiatrist to movie stars or something? He done something with movie stars and helped them get ready for roles, and he said, I know when somebody's lying and when they're not, and this gentleman is clearly telling the truth. Yeah. But he told us what I asked him, do you remember what year it was? Yes, 1982. I said, do you remember the date? He said it was April 7th. I believe it was on a Wednesday. So first thing I did, went back and looked up the old calendars for that year. Sure enough, April 7th was a Wednesday. Yeah. The guy tells me what the weather was. I go back and look up old weather reports. Weather was exactly like he said. What was the phase of the moon? He told me, well, I believe it was such and such. He thought it might have been a full moon. Ended up he was 1 day off from the full moon. And I believe it was 1 day off. It was very, very close. And everything that he told us, it checked out.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to make of it. He has to be just like a world-class liar if he's not telling the truth.
And we've even had other people talk with him, prominent researchers, and they said, well, Roger, when we started talking, I asked you a lot of questions, challenges to try to throw you off, see if you'd change your story,
and your story hadn't changed a bit.
You've kept with your story exactly the way you told it originally.
So we went to other researchers who are well bigger than us and asked how to proceed. Some people backdoor threatened us. Well, if you present his story, the government's going to, they could kill you or accuse you of child pornography or use some kind of weapon to activate your wife's cancer and make it worse, or, tell us all these horrible things.
Yeah.
But, here I've got a guy that when he talks about it, he'll break down and cry, and you can tell that that's coming from a true place. Yeah. And I'm like, son, this guy seems like he's really got something he needs to get off his chest. And he seems to have no loftier aim to any of this than to make sure people remember this family and realize that this was real people who had lives and were loving people.
And, he hasn't made a dime off of this.
Yeah, he hasn't made a dime off of it. We don't, what is that one thing that I don't need to say?
You're about to say we don't have an OnlyFans.
Yeah, that thing. We don't have one of those, but we don't have a Patreon, and we don't
monetize our channel. Yeah. We've had the option for a long time to do so. We've never done it.
And if he was trying to get famous, I would think that he would have went to somebody who had a much larger platform than ours. We've got maybe getting close to 7,000 subscribers, which is very small for the internet. He could have went to anybody bigger and told his story. He has decided tonight not to do the television network, because he believes that they're being dishonest. And a man who's lying wouldn't care about dishonesty. A man who is trying to get wealthy or famous, they're going to try to go somewhere where some money is.
Yes.
Right. No, I agree with that.
If he was interested in money, he'd stay with it.
And if you talk to him one-on-one, some very rigid people who didn't believe anything he said has come away going, I never thought I'd say this, but I believe him.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, what do you do with Kumbo's story? I don't do anything with Kumbo's story. I'll say the same thing that I've maintained all along. Maybe the stories meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I'd say
maybe both are true to some extent. Now, something a lot of people don't know, and they will when I post this other interview I did with him, is he has maintained all along the one thing that makes him the maddest is when they say the little girl was found in a tree. The little girl's name was Connie, and he gets fighting mad. He said that absolutely did not happen. He said, I don't know how that got started unless it's because the creature that was found dead in the tree, that creature had a piece of Connie's sweater in its paw. Yeah. Now, I don't know if it's because somebody said the creature had the little girl's sweater in its hand, and somehow over the years, it become that the little girl was in the tree. But he maintains that she absolutely was not, that she was back behind the camper, or not camper, but the vehicle close to where her daddy and her brother had been gathering wood.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how that creature got the little girl's sweater in his hand whenever creature.
The only theory he has on that is the first creature. He said, I know there was two creatures. I saw the one, Levi shot it, and I shot it, and it made a beeline straight down in the holler to where, or he said ravine, I say holler, down in the ravine towards where this tree is.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know how it got Connie's sweater. The only thing I can think of is that she was one of the only ones who was out buzzing around the campsite. And I think she could have possibly taken her sweater off, and this thing might have just picked it up, because you never know why an animal will do what it does. Maybe it liked the smell of it, and because I know some people who claim to have a Bigfoot living on their property that had a baby, and they gave it a blanket. And this little Bigfoot they called Sheba would carry this blanket around everywhere.
Yeah.
So maybe it just picked that sweater up and, had it when it died in the tree. And people that say that you can't kill something with a 410, they need to do their research, because a 410 with the most minor buckshot, or not buckshot, but bird shot you can get,
the number 9,
has 959 foot-pounds of pressure. Now, that's a lot to hit something in the back of the head and the neck and shoulders with, right after it's already been shot with a 20 gauge, which has 1,785 foot-pounds of pressure.
Yeah.
We seen a demonstration on YouTube, a guy who manufactured a fake body. He took these big steaks and spare ribs and a beef heart, and he wrapped it all together, and he wrapped it in denim, to simulate a body. And he shot it with number 9 bird shot from 15 feet away. Not only did it destroy the steaks in front, it got through the ribs, and 4 of the pellets penetrated the heart.
He did this with a 28 gauge, which is it was a weaker gun.
Yeah, it was a weaker gun. It was a 28 gauge with number 9 shot, and it just decimated this thing. And so you hit something twice like that, especially since it's not a 12-foot creature. He said they were about 6.5 feet tall, and we made an alarming discovery last night. Are you familiar with Bart Nunley?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know him personally, but I know
Bart wrote a book called Mysterious Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he drew a sketch for Jan Thompson of the creatures that she said that she saw that tried to get her cousin on the motorcycle. And Elijah was looking at this one day. And he said, you realize how much that looks like the creature that Roger says he saw? And I was like, it kind of does. We ought to ask him sometime. Well, we were interviewing Bart and him last night. We're going to post it later this evening or tomorrow. But we were interviewing those guys, and I remembered Elijah having that discussion with me. He's looking at Bart's book, and I said, Elijah, can you send both of them a picture of this? And Roger, when you get this, tell me if this looks familiar at all. And when he saw it, he said, OMG, basically. He said, it's frightening. He said, that is almost exactly what I saw. It looks more like it than the other picture. He said, look at the shape of the ears and the location. He said, that's exactly how I've been describing the ears being offset. That's exactly what I saw.
But that particular sketch, Bart Nunley worked with Jan Thompson. She claims to have had a dogman encounter as well, and they worked back and forth.
And it took him a long time to get it exactly right, to match what she saw years ago when she was a young lady. But it matches up exactly to what Roger saw. The other creatures are similar, but the face on this thing was almost exact to what he saw.
Right. Well, I've told y'all backstage that not Roger, but the Beast of LBL killing story, I've never really believed. And I've been on site with Kumbo and heard the story that Kumbo was told, and I don't think Kumbo's telling a lie. I think he was.
I believe somebody told Kumbo that.
Right.
But there's no guarantee that Kumbo even got accurate information.
Right.
Nobody was there. Nobody can prove it one way or the other.
Right. What's bothered me the most out of the story is how do you cover up a whole murder of a family? And
man, that would be super easy. Realistically, that would be super easy. Especially if they go in, they find out this family's Amish. There's nobody to claim the bodies.
Right.
What do you say? If you want to hide that, you go out there and you crash that thing on the side of the road. Well, these people died in an accident.
True.
And it would mangle the bodies, I don't know that that's what happened.
Right.
And if they're Amish,
and since there was between $20,000 and $30,000 in that vehicle, somebody wouldn't want that coming to light. They'd want that money.
Well, supposedly they
so it'd be real easy next to and I'm not accusing the government, but it'd be real easy to dig a hole and make some bodies disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. At the time, the Amish part of the story hadn't been out. So I was just taking a normal family that's tied pretty deep, and the Amish are kind of isolated from the regular world on purpose.
Yes, and a lot of people will tell you that the family was Mormon. Well, it's interesting to me that a religious family is tied into several different versions of this story.
Right. I agree. And I mean, the coincidences in that are kind of peculiar. But the Roger, I know y'all took the interview down with Roger. Go ahead and talk about why y'all did that and then what happened to this point. If y'all want to, you don't have to.
Well, we'll touch briefly on it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've just about been Rogered to death lately. I never realized when we done the interview that it was going to ignite such a firestorm. I figured there might be some interest in it, but oh my goodness.
Well, what's kind of funny is we're in a lot of groups on Facebook. You can just scroll down your Facebook and it's Roger. But we felt like this man had something on his heart that he really wanted to get off. And like I said, he had no loftier aim than to just try to make sure these people were remembered. He didn't go to anybody to try to make money. He didn't go to anybody to try to get fame. Even when the network came calling, he didn't want to do it. And we kind of convinced him, along with Bart Nunley, that it would give him a bigger platform to where he could. And Bart Nunley's the first one to ever make a video on the Beast of LBL. And Bart seems to believe Roger.
Yeah.
Even though it contradicts the thing that he originally done.
Right.
And, but the fact that he didn't really try to go to somebody to get on TV, and we had to convince him that if he wanted to get to a larger audience to tell the story about this family, then that would be his best opportunity.
Right.
And so Roger never tried to abandon us, and he even told the network, there's no way that I'll even do the story unless John and Elijah can be a part of it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm glad that he don't want to do it. We were going to do it largely so that Roger could have a platform, and Roger, he was going to do it because he thought it might help us out some way. And I'm like, Roger, buddy, I promise you, we're not the kind of people, our eyes don't go all stars and pinwheels at the thought of being on TV.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of an isolationist. I don't do well around people, and I'd have to go and sit and, you know, have awkward conversations with somebody. So if you feel uncomfortable in any way doing it, you do what makes you happy. And so I would almost rather have teeth pulled than be in a room full of people. You know, I fake it pretty well, but I have bad social anxiety, and this thing here is even worse.
Yeah.
It comes from, you know, when I was growing up, you know, I spent a whole lot of time alone, and I just get nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, you know, a long-tailed cat.
So when we switch brands of coffee.
Yeah. My wife goes, do you really have that much nervous? You get nervous about stuff like that? And I'm like, I do. I get nervous when we switch brands of coffee.
Right. Well, really, y'all probably dodged a bullet, because from the people I know of that took their stories to network, they would butcher them. They would add 3 or 4 encounters together to make a story more dramatic.
Wow.
So they probably wouldn't have done justice to it, honestly. I don't know. I don't know who it was or anything. But
well, here's our thoughts on it. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are atheists or consider themselves spiritual sensitives or whatever else they are, pagans or anything. And our religious beliefs differ from theirs. I'm a Christian. I'm proud to be a Christian.
Yes.
And I believe that Scripture bears out very clearly that all liars will have their part in the lake of fire. Now, if you don't believe that, that's fine. If this guy don't believe it, that's fine. But I believe it. And I am not going to willingly tell a lie to somebody, you know, because it don't say some liars or white liars or big liars. It says all liars are going to have their part in the lake of fire.
I agree.
Well, you know, I've got enough sins to burn for as it is. I don't want to add a line to my resume.
I understand that 100%. It's like I tell everybody, when I die, if I'm wrong, I'll never know it. But if you die and you're wrong, you'll wish you was.
Nearly bar the door.
But
this original interview with Roger, when we initially released it and it started spreading like it did, we got contacted by this larger national property, and they asked us if we would, you know, temporarily take it down for about 2 months until they start working on it.
Yeah, if they were going to spend the time and money on Roger, you know, they'd like to basically get the credit for it.
Yeah, they told us.
And we're like, sure, you know, that's a small price to pay, you know, to give this man a bigger platform. You know, if he's telling the truth and these people can be memorialized, then sure.
They told us that whatever they're working on, it may not happen if we kept it up, because I guess so many people would already know the story that it wouldn't be, the people in charge wouldn't feel it's worth putting
time and energy into.
Yes, that's.
But since Roger no longer has an interest in working with these people, as he told us tonight, and he basically said, I asked him, do you want us to put your video back up? And he said, yes. So he recorded a little message of him telling people that he had decided to not do it and to put the video back up. So tonight we're going to add that back to our channel. And, you know, who knows, maybe some other network will come calling, somebody that he feels more confident with.
And I want to confirm for people, because there have been some that have been worried about this. When it comes back up, you're not going to find any different details. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, we've not altered it in any way. It will be the same video that we took down. Is going to be the same video we put back up.
And the video didn't actually go down. It just went private for a little while. So it was still there. It didn't change. It was just a visibility thing.
And we promised people we wouldn't alter it, and we did not.
No.
If anything, they're going to have more information because we recorded another round table, so to speak, with Roger and Bart, because they done paranormal round table with Josh Johnson, Josh Turner, and Jody Cook and Bart Nunley. And so many people were writing in. If you watch the thing, they were writing in. They wanted to see Bart and Roger talk. So we give them an opportunity. I had them both on the phone. I said, you guys have any interest in just sitting down talking and doing an interview? Because people were wanting that, and they both agreed. And So we recorded one, and Elijah's going through the audio, working, trying to clean it up, and
Yep.
Hopefully we get it posted tonight.
I hope so. It's about 2 hours long, so the biggest problem is just getting it and having time to render.
Right.
Yeah,
that too.
But we're ready to get on to some bigger and better things. If you've seen our Beast of Bloody Harlan, there's been a new development with one of the cases going on up there, and we really want to find a way to have the time to go up there and be a part of this investigation.
I'd give anything.
To be up there tonight, because we had reported on a family who was being harassed by some dog men. If you ever seen the video.
Yeah.
And it got so bad, these families had to go in debt, 3 families, and borrow money basically to put up an electrified fence around their house, because these things were coming and killing their goats and leaving the heads pulled off out in their yard where the kids could see it and stuff, and beating on their house and
raking its claws,
raking the claws on the house.
Yeah.
And so they put up an electrified fence. Well, over the weekend, these things, I guess, got smart or something, and the one lady, the main family, her husband started working nights, and while he was gone, these creatures come in with sticks and beat the electric wires down on top of the fence, and started coming back over the fence and harassing them again.
And they've got to wait multiple days before they can get there.
If the weather's clear, they're going. Well, today's Thursday. Yes. If the weather was clear in Harlan, they was hoping to get them repaired today. If not, they'll have to wait till probably next week.
Yeah.
But we would love to be up there to be part of what's going on and spend some days there and see that.
Yes, but we were told that they literally came in and were terrorizing the family through the night.
And even their dogs would do nothing but sit in the doghouse and scream, terrified.
Wow. That sounds like a good one for sure.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about that. We were supposed to call them tonight, and if they were, because they were going to go up there with some friends and try to stay with the lady, and they were going to try to carry some recording equipment and some guns and things of that nature in case it got bad. Yeah. But again, I don't know what the weather's doing there. Yesterday, they had a lot of near tornadic activity.
Yeah. Well, hopefully nothing bad happened on the weather or with the creatures that are bothering them. All right. We're about to take some questions. So if you have a question, put it in all caps and we'll ask. All I want to say about Roger is either the man's telling the truth or he did a lot of research with his story to tell a big fat story.
I mean, he would have to be a world-class liar to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, every detail of his story, I've never been able to, other than like some little thing, like he might misspeak, like if you get tongue-tied or something, right. Or he might say, I was in the trailer and I turned to the right when actually it was on the left. Other than something small like that, there's been nothing.
I'll even say this: if it ever was to come out that he was a liar, I think he should receive credit just because how talented he was at it.
He needs an Oscar.
Yeah,
I agree. He needs to write a book. If he is
recommendation in Hollywood,
I would love to see him write a book.
Yeah,
I would love to see him collaborate with Bart Nunley and write a book.
That would be amazing.
Definitely. All right, we got a question from David Blaylock. Are there dog men on the West Coast? Have y'all made it out to the West Coast?
Not as such.
I have not made it out there, but I have heard several stories about people who encountered dog men along pathways by the ocean and up in some of the California mountains.
Yeah.
But again, until you're there yourself and do the research and see, you can't ever say for certain.
Right. Well, part of the reason I don't like the Beast of LBL stories because I don't want dog men to be real.
People a lot of times they'll say, do you really want to live in a world where there are bloodthirsty werewolf type creatures? And the only thing I can say is, yes, I really do.
I really do.
Hey, if there's a Bigfoot out there, it's a possibility, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I tell everybody, they're like, if you die, how do you want to die? I said, did you ever see the movie Legends of the Fall? That guy went out at the end fighting a grizzly bear. I want to go out mangled by a dog man.
Not if I get there first.
I said, can you imagine the paycheck my wife and kids would get over something like that if they could get it on film?
Evidently
Hey,
not.
I said, everybody's got to die, but if you get tore up by a big werewolf creature, what could ever be a more epic death?
I would be honored to provide that nutrition.
Well, y'all might get a chance, it sounds like, at Harlan.
Well, it's
Maybe
possible.
so.
Now, one of the supposed dogmen that's harassing his family, one of the people that saw it said that when she first saw it, she thought there was a lion or something in the woods because its head was so big.
And it was
Yeah.
kind of a brindle
And
color.
said it was a brindle color.
Huh.
I've never heard of one that was brindle colored.
Wow. That's wild. Well, we only got 10 minutes to go, so if you got questions, you better get them in there.
Woo. We've squeaked by another one.
It would seem so.
We still got plenty to talk about. We're just about out of time. That's all. Because I know how many documentaries have y'all got up? How many shows altogether?
We probably got about 50 videos of varying
Yeah,
subjects.
varying subjects and things. I don't know. Let's see.
Well, I know
Oh,
I have a
geez.
playlist of the actual Nightmare Nuggets up, and there's 19 in there. But I may have missed a couple. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you probably did.
Well, it might actually be about because those ones from up in Dayton. It might actually be closer to about 22.
Yeah, I think we got 22 somewhere about actual documentaries and varying length from about 10 minutes on up to an hour plus.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. We started out just making them nuggets, just little small things, and then they've got bigger and bigger and bigger and larger in scope. And our budgets got smaller and smaller and smaller in scope.
We used to start at about 4 minutes, and now they're like an hour and 10 minutes now.
And now Bell Witch is going to be multiple hours.
Yeah.
Hey, I watched the first one, and it was good. I read the book of the Bell Witch whenever I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade, which was 40-something years ago.
Now, are you somewhere close to where we're at? We're in Clarksville, Tennessee right now.
I'm in Northwest Tennessee, up by Reelfoot Lake.
Oh, you're out there with all them flatlanders.
Yep. And then Mark's down close to Memphis. So-
Memphis. He's down close to Mississippi or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're originally from over in the mountains over in East Tennessee, Dayton, Tennessee.
Yeah. All right.
But at
Yeah.
least, thank God, we're all from Tennessee.
That's right. It's a great state. But y'all are in the pretty part of the state. I'll admit
No,
that.
we're not.
No, we're in the
Y'all
flatland.
not?
No, we're still amongst flatlanders here. It's just a little more hilly. You start getting over in the mountains when you get over in East Tennessee.
Okay. All right. I got you. Yeah.
It's too
But
flat.
we're
up
real
here.
flat. We're real flat here.
Yes, you are, brother. I'm so sorry.
Scott Trent asked, have you all ever researched or looked into Bigfoot in East Tennessee around Jonesboro?
Where is Jonesboro?
Man, I don't know. I'd have to Google it.
Now, we've looked into several accounts over there, and people, even down there around my hometown, people still see Bigfoot around there. Somebody claimed to see a werewolf up on the mountain, and there's several reports of dogmen crossing the highway down in Chattanooga. So there's lots of creatures down there.
I've actually got a book from Charles Price, Haunted Jonesboro.
Haunted Jonesboro. We need to look at that then.
Yeah.
But no, not specifically Jonesboro, but
Yeah.
we would love to if there's supposed to be a Bigfoot down there.
Oh, definitely.
I'm sure y'all could go anywhere over there, and there's one somewhere close.
There's a
Guaranteed.
lot of hills and hollers, that's for sure.
Scott said it's in upper East Tennessee.
Now, is that up near Kingsport by any chance?
It's probably up by Oneida or something. Maybe. I don't know. We'll
Don't
have to
think it's too
look
far
it up. I was just going to say we can look it up after the show. Syntex Legend said, is there a difference in Dogman?
There seems to be. Now, having never actually seen one ourselves,
Unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately, maybe the Lord will cure that for us. Some people report seeing something that looks more werewolf, like a wolf literally standing up on two legs with digigrade legs that appear to be bent backward, but it's really the haunches or the hocks. Some have tails, some don't have tails. Some have longer muzzles, some have little squished in faces. There seems to be some kind of varying degree. Somebody made a chart of like type 3 variant this or variant that. I can't keep track of them. But there seems to be 4 or 5 different looks to these things. Some of them have human legs looking.
Well, a good example also is people use the werewolf movies to kind of help identify what they've seen. I seen some that look just like the werewolf in Bad Moon or the werewolf in Van Helsing.
The werewolf from The Howling.
The Howling. I seen something that looked like the werewolf in Silver Bullet. And and they're all different, visually different.
Now, what I rarely ever hear, and I have heard a couple of them, is a couple people have actually seen something that looked like the old Wolfman.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you put that, Well, it was wearing clothes. My dog man had on trousers.
That was a Rougarou.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what to make of that, but I'm not going to call you a liar.
We're not going to question its wardrobe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, this is America. It can wear what it wants. If it wants to feel pretty, dadgummit, it can feel pretty.
That's right. All right. David Blaylock asked, are werewolf and dogman the same entity?
Again, we couldn't answer that,
When
because we don't know the spiritual applications there. Can a man turn into a wolf?
When we say werewolf, we generally just use it as another term for a dog man because they look so similar to such a thing.
Right.
But there are weird cases from history where people claim that they could do that. What do you do with the skinwalkers? For anybody that says, well, one thing doesn't turn into another thing, how do you describe a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly?
Yeah.
Now, Elon Musk actually just made a statement recently. It was real weird when you compare it to skinwalkers. He said that by, fiddling around and altering it was either the DNA or I think he said the RNA, we can turn a man into a freaking butterfly. Remember him saying that?
I do remember him saying that. So somebody somewhere seems to be dabbling with it. Now, is it done by supernatural means? I don't know. I've read accounts where people could project them or claim they could project themselves into a wolf, or they could turn themselves into a wolf, or they could mentally become a wolf.
Now, on the supernatural side of things, there's a bit of interest there because there's multiple former Satanists high up in the occult who say that when you hit a certain level in actual dark occult Satanism, that you hit a certain level and you can choose to become a werewolf.
Satan will grant you the ability to be a werewolf or more vampiric in nature, but if you choose the werewolf, that it's extraordinarily painful, and that Satan uses those more to punish people who try to wander away from Satanism, that they're kind of like the cruel enforcers for him, that he'll make gruesome deaths out of you, at their hands to try to instill terror.
Wholly sold out to Satan, I believe. Is the term used.
Is it true? I don't know. I've had people tell me, though, that if you go to a wooded area or something at the end of a road and, you get out of your car and you start getting into the brush and you find like a bag or somebody's clothes and their shoes tucked up somewhere in the woods, you do not touch those or mess with them. That's somebody who's a werewolf of sorts, and they've left their clothes there, and you better not take their clothes.
Larry, I can't remember the actual specifics of it because it was something that was shared to me. I don't remember actually watching it, but there is a gentleman by the name of Walter Vythe. He was giving some kind of lecture series, and he was saying that he was relating a story about some missionaries once, and they kept being harassed by this baboon, and it kept coming out of wherever.
Coming
woods,
by night, messing with them.
And it would just constantly harass them. And eventually it got to the point they shot it and killed it. And when they killed it, it turned back into a man.
Yeah, the village's medicine man.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some wild stories out there.
I don't know what all Satan can do, if or I don't know if they're amalgamations. I don't know if they're just a type of animal. I mean, it's interesting to look back in history at the cynocephali, who were the dog-headed men. Even Alexander the Great claimed to have subdued some and had them chained up and used in his army.
Yeah. All right. Central Florida Bigfoot asks, have y'all ever gone to Big Ridge State Park?
Unfortunately, we have
No,
not
but it
made
sounds like
there
maybe
yet.
we should. Where's it at?
It may be in Florida. I don't know.
We don't
Honestly.
mind going to Florida.
Yeah, but right now our travel's cut short, while my wife
Yeah.
is sick until.
Right.
I just mean that's somewhere we would enjoy going.
Yes. We literally go places with just a flashlight that most people won't even go in the daytime armed.
I believe you. I'd stay away from Harlan.
People will often ask me, they'll say, aren't you afraid of dying? I'll be like, well, no, I'm not. I had a heart attack several years ago and I died twice. I know what's on the other side,
Right.
I know I didn't see a tunnel of light with Grandma and Elvis. There's nothing like that. But it was
Right.
very peaceful and relaxing going into it. But once the darkness settled on me, I don't remember anything beyond that.
Yeah.
But it was very comfortable. So I know what's on the other side. I know what to expect. So, I don't worry about that. I ain't afraid of spiders, snakes, or redheaded women. I'm afraid, of something happening to my wife, of course. And that weird little girl from The Exorcist. Now, she creeps me out. And,
Me too.
Yeah. Somebody's probably going to go to hell for even making that movie.
Well, they're probably tied to it anyway, so.
Probably so. But yeah,
Mark,
beyond that, I generally don't get afraid of anything.
yeah, I hear you. I missed
Not
that
boasting
last
on my
question.
bravery or anything. Maybe it's my stupidity.
Well, sometimes whenever you know this ain't it, you don't worry about this that much. There's more to
Even if
come.
that comfortable darkness was all there is, I believe there's life beyond that. I believe the Lord's going to resurrect us, at Jesus coming. And I believe there's going to be a lot more to it. But even if that comfortable darkness is all it is, man, I got to give it 2 enthusiastic thumbs up.
That's
It wasn't bad.
That's probably not a really bad way to go if that was by all that there was,
Yeah.
I hear you. All right. Well, we're getting close to the end. I'm going to thank y'all
Now,
for
are you
coming
talking
on.
about the world or the episode?
Just the episode, hopefully.
Okay.
I can't guarantee the other. But I'm going to have to tag team with Mark. So I'm going to tell y'all I appreciate y'all coming on here. And I hope to have y'all on here again to talk about some more of the stuff y'all done because it's really
We'll
good.
be glad to do it for you sometime. Now, again, until my wife clears
Right.
up, I can't make long range plans.
Well, we just really want to thank y'all for coming on. And anytime that y'all may get up to LBL sometime, we'll just holler at us. And
Well, we just live right outside of LBL. We was hoping
Yeah,
you'd holler at us when y'all get ready to go down there.
Yeah.
and because I would love to share a campfire with y'all and
Well,
sit
that'd be
around
super
and
groovy.
eat hot dogs and tell stories.
That
And,
sounds like a great time.
But
You had me at hot dogs.
but
Wait,
we
that
would
kind of sounded gay, didn't it? I didn't mean it that way.
It's okay. It's one of your favorite foods.
It is a great food.
But we would like to give you this opportunity to say any final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience.
Well, first of all, we'd love to thank both of y'all for having us on. We genuinely appreciate that.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit more really quick about your outing you're going to have there soon.
It's actually just a birthday camp out for Larry.
I thought that you was doing like a big event.
And so we were just going to head up and have a camp out with friends. And Larry don't like celebrating his birthday. He don't like attention towards himself. So we just thought we'd all show up and make him really awkward.
That sounds like a good plan.
Well, I don't want to embarrass him, but Happy early birthday, Larry.
Yeah. I'm not going to sing it to him, but happy birthday.
Nobody likes singing that or being sang at with that song.
Hey, do you want to tell anybody about our website or anything like that?
I mean, I reckon I can.
That's right. Yeah, why do people have a problem with us saying reckon?
I don't know why, because I say it.
Yeah, we said reckon the other day and people started poking fun at us. And I'm like, you've got to be some kind of dandy from the city if you don't know what reckon is.
I was at the drive-thru and I was like, well, ma'am, I reckon I'd like this to drink. You reckon? Yeah. I reckon I'd like that to drink.
Well, I call them sidewalk spitters.
They probably are. But go ahead and give our stuff.
I reckon if y'all don't mind, go and check out our channel on YouTube, Cryptid Studies Institute. That's where we do all of our documentaries and post our interviews, and that's where we're most active at. If you like other forms of social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook. You can go visit our website, cryptidstudiesinstitute.com. We've got other sound recordings on there, some of our pictures we've done. We've actually got more Nightmare Nuggets on there because our early ones, they weren't quite as polished as they are now. So we remade them and put some on there. And yeah, we got some other interesting things on there. It's still in construction, but we got a section of free resources where you can find some free PDF books like what's that Sabine Gould book? The
Book of Werewolves.
The Book of Werewolves and
Montauk Summers, is it on there?
I think so. Maybe.
Yep.
Probably
some really good resources and
some links to some other great researchers.
Submit a sighting form, which is probably extraordinarily detailed.
Yeah, I would venture to say, honestly, it's one of the most detailed submit a sighting forms
anywhere.
We spent a lot of time trying to figure that out, putting a lot of variables for people. But
what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to y'all's YouTube channel and pin it at the top of the comments.
Thank you so much, my
yes,
friend.
thank you so very much.
And that way, if you're watching this show at a later date, then just click on the link. I'm going to tell you, the Hendersons have awesome videos. They go into great depth. The I would call them mini series or documentaries, and they are well done. And at the same time, they're entertaining, and you can tell that there has been a lot of hours and time put into each and every one of them.
Well, we truly appreciate that.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
And thanks to everybody who sat here and watched us,
And we do it for and I hate to use the term loftier aim than it's just a labor of love. We enjoy doing it.
We're very passionate about it.
Well, it's been fantastic talking to y'all over the past week, and we want to thank everyone for coming into chat tonight and asking questions and talking amongst yourselves. And we will see you Monday night.
Yeah, and thank you for being interested enough to actually sit and listen to us ramble.
Yes,
yeah. So we will see everybody Monday night on Beast of the Woods, and it will be a surprise. You do not want to miss it. You do not want to miss the live show. So we want to say good night to everybody, and night, footers.
Good night.
Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. Be sure to check out our pictures and videos of possible evidence. And if you haven't checked out the Files tab, there is a wealth of information that you may find beneficial. If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%. So come check out our junk. We want to thank all of our new subscribers and our faithful followers. Also, be sure to check out our field evidence videos and our sister channel, Beast of the Woods. That's Larry's channel. If you want to help us out, make sure that you are subscribed. Click the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again to each of you for watching, and we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Night night, footers.
This has been a Sawdust production.